Hello and welcome to the Monday Practice Problems Step-by-Step Instructions or Answer Key. If you've already done the problem and you just want to check your answers, scroll through and you can see if you got the correct answers. If you're not sure how to get started or what to do, follow along with me. So the first problem we have is x minus y equals 11 and 2x plus y equals 19. Remember, we are trying to get an xy pair. We're trying to figure out what xy values will make both equations true. If we were going to graph them, it would be like, when do they cross? What's the ordered pair for that? This time around, we're going to use addition elimination, which is, again, very simple, and it's based off of property of equality. So I'm going to rewrite this here. I have x minus y is equal to 11. 2x, just to line it up, I think it helps, plus y is equal to 19. All right, so again, I'm going to just make it so it's really easy. I'm adding these two equations together using property of equality. So it might seem like you're adding different things to different sides, but 2x plus y is the same value as 19, which means you're adding the equivalent of 19 to both sides, or the equivalent of 2x plus y to both sides. This is why it works. So let's get started. X plus 2x is going to be 3x. Negative y and positive y added together becomes 0. 11 plus 19, that's going to be 30. So now I just have to get x alone. I have 3 times x. The opposite of times is divide, so divide by 3, and I have x is equal to 10. Now I can go ahead and just plug that 10 back in to this part for x here and then solve for y. So now I have 10 minus y is equal to 11. So I'm just going to go ahead and subtract 10 from both sides here. Subtract 10 from both sides. I have negative y is equal to 11 minus 10 is 1. And I can't leave my y as a negative, so I'm going to go ahead and divide by negative 1 on both sides, negative 1. And we now know that y is equal to negative 1. So y is negative 1, 10, x is 10. Let's go ahead and make sure that works. So x should be 10, y should be negative 1. So if I were to say 10 minus y is negative 1, should that equal 11? And then 2 times 10 plus negative 1 should equal 19. So 10, if I'm adding a negative and a negative, 10 plus 1 is 11, that works. And then 2 times 10 is 20, plus negative 1 is going to be 19, and that works too. So our answer for the first question should be 10, negative 1. All right, moving on to the second problem. I got negative 4x minus 2y equals negative 12, and 4x plus 8y equals negative 24. Again, we're going to try and find the xy pair here. These look pretty lined up, so I'm just going to write over the problem. I'm going to make sure that I am putting them in parentheses so I can focus on the operation, which is addition, and there's a line here. So we have negative 4x plus 4x becomes 0. Negative 2y plus 8y is going to be 6y. And we're adding negative 12 and negative 24 here. Remember, when you're adding two negatives together, it's like you're getting farther to the left on the number line after 0. So negative 12 and negative 24 become negative 36, because it's like you have $12 in debt and then you borrow another 24. How much do you owe? It's going to be negative 36. Now I want to get that y alone, so I'm going to divide 6y by 6 to get rid of the 6 being multiplied, and I'm going to divide 6 here. So now I have y is equal to, we know 36 divided by 6 is positive 6, but negative 36 divided by positive 6 would be negative. So y is negative 6 there. Now I'm going to go ahead and plug this y value back in to solve for x. It doesn't matter what equation you use. I'm going to use the positive equation because I think that's easier to multiply, but again, it does not matter. So I have 4x plus 8, and then instead of y, I'm going to put negative 6 in for the value, so this is some substitution, equals negative 24. And I'm just going to simplify. I got 4x, nothing's happening to it, plus 8 times 6 is 48, but we know that 8 times negative 6 is negative 48, and then equals negative 24. Again, I'm trying to get x alone, so I need to get rid of this negative 48. I can do that by adding 48 to both sides. Adding 48 to both sides. And so I have 4x is equal to Negative 24 added to positive 48 is going to be positive 24. And if you're having trouble with that, you can use a calculator definitely during this. Get 4 out of there because x needs to be alone. So now I have x is equal to positive 6. So my answer should be 6, negative 6. So let's go ahead and just verify that that works. So again, our answer should be 6, negative 6. I'm going to go ahead and just plug that back in. So I have negative 4, and x is going to be 6, minus 2. Instead of y, I'm going to be putting negative 6 in there, and that's going to equal negative 12. Let's see if that checks out. So it might be helpful to think about this as addition here because this negative 2 is being multiplied to the negative 6. Negative 4 times positive 6 is negative 24, plus negative 2 and negative 6 together become 12, multiplied become 12, and then here we go, negative 24 added to 12 is negative 12 equals negative 12, check. And then I'm going to go ahead and plug it into the other side, write a little smaller hopefully, 4, and then we're going to be multiplying this by 6 plus 8, and instead of y we're going to be putting in negative 6 should equal 24. So let's just go ahead and solve that. 4 times 6 is going to be 24, plus 8 times negative 6 is negative 48, equals 24. 24 and negative 28. Oh, this should be negative 24. That's where my error is. I was going to say that won't work, but negative 48 plus 24 should be negative 24, equals negative 24, and check. All right, and those are the answers for our 2 problems. The first one was 10 and negative 1, and this one is 6 and negative 6.